Everyone has a story to tell. It's my mission to tell it. Unscripted, unedited, we are on the record.
Hi everyone, I'm Serena Fazan. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of On the Record. And I have to say, it's a very special one for me today. We have a superstar guest, Mayor Bob Buckhorn. I still have to call you Mayor. Bob.
That's okay. Yeah. My family sure does not, nor did they call me mayor at all.
It is such an honor to have you here.
It's good to be here, Serena.
Well, in fact, I've been trying to get you on the show for quite a while, but I'm like, how do I reach him? But I had the wrong email, so I apologize. It's so good to see you, Mayor.
Good to see you, too.
All right, so let me ask you first, before we get started. Well, we're already started. What am I saying? I'm so excited. See, I just can't even, talk. What are you doing right now?
I joined after taking 2.5 years off and actually getting hobbies, which I'd never had. And I enjoyed that time. It was time with my family, time to travel, time to, get some hobbies and things that I want to do for the rest of my life as well. I realized I'm not cut out to do hobbies. And so I joined Shoemaker, Lupin, Kendrick, and Shoemaker Advisors in particular. Mm-hmm. It is a national law firm that also has a big public policy, public affairs, governmental affairs practice. It is a very, very talented group of lawyers and public affairs practitioners. We have been building a great team in the last couple of years, and Mayor Kreisman just joined us. Commissioner Les Miller is there. Commissioner Sandy Merman is there. State Senator Danny Burgess is there.
Wow.
So we're building a team that I think will allow us to really extend the reach of what was already a good law firm into the public policy and public affairs arena.
What a powerhouse. We have to share them. Before we started on the show, you were actually fired from a job just recently.
I was.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been fired from too many jobs. But I did. My 16-year-old daughter got her license this summer, and my only job during that 2.5-year period was the same job I had the entire time I was the mayor, and that was to drive them to school every day and pick them up. When she got her license, she literally fired me from the only job that I had, which was driving her to school, which I loved. And there I was, the ex-mayor in the pickup line with all the moms and the dads who were dropping the kids off, and I loved it. And she fired me. I mean, it was traumatic. I haven't recovered from it since.
That's adorable. She's a junior.
She's a junior.
And
yeah.
You also have another beautiful daughter who is actually studying overseas right now.
She is, yeah.
And on the record, I'm putting this on the record right now, even though he says no, his wife is a superstar doctor, and I want them on Love in America.
No. Not happening. You're not going to see me there. If we do, the only one talking will be her.
No. Well, I'm still working on it, guys. I'm still working on it.
Not.
Well, you've used the word love a lot in these past, couple of sentences. And truly, what I love about you, there's many things, but how much you love the city of Tampa. I mean, you truly love the city of Tampa. And I always thought you were from here. But you're not from here.
No.
Share your story, because it is, I mean, you graduated from Penn State.
I did. I graduated from Penn State in 1980. 1982, I was selected for Aviation Officer Candidate School, which is the precursor to flight school for the Navy. I wanted very badly to fly jets off of aircraft carriers, and went down to Pensacola Naval Air Station and started what's called Aviation Officer Candidate School. And they diagnosed me as having a degeneration of one of my corneas and discharged me.
Wow. I
was 23 years old. My life had just been crushed. I had a 1966 Dodge Dart with no air conditioning.
Oh my gosh.
I had $300 in discharge pay. I had nowhere else to go. I had one suit. And so I drove from Pensacola Naval Air Station to Tampa, Florida, where I had a fraternity brother from Penn State. And I just crashed on his couch and stayed with him for a couple weeks until I was able to find someplace else to live. He had just gotten married, Serena, and the last thing his wife wanted to see was me. Because I still had all the bad habits of
being a bachelor,
fraternity boys and being a bachelor, and certainly encouraged his bad behavior too. But I didn't know a soul here, and I didn't come from anything. And just started scratching and clawing my way up, and eventually became probably the first mayor that wasn't either born here or raised here. And also one of the only mayors that was a former city employee.
I know, and I want to talk about that. It is, and it's so true, because the impression that you gave everybody, or you felt it, I should say, you felt it, that you were born and raised in Tampa, Florida, because the passion you have for the city. But the passion for politics began when you were growing up.
It did.
So share that story with us.
You know, and you're right. It was almost an immigrant's passion for the city, like an immigrant's passion for this country.
Yes.
Something similar to your life story. I mean, it's different than when you're born and raised here. The love that you have for a place when it becomes your adopted home. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. My dad was a reporter who covered Washington, D.C. And D.C. is a place where, like money is to New York, politics is to Washington, D.C. It's the currency. And I liken it to malaria. Once it gets in your system, you can't ever get rid of it. And so my first experience literally was 1968. There was a presidential election going on. Bobby Kennedy was running for president. We were an Irish Catholic family. His brother was an iconic figure, certainly for Irish Catholics and Democrats. And I was, at the age of 10, going to do whatever I could to get Bobby Kennedy elected.
Wow.
Now, that wasn't much, but I used to have my mother drive me to the Kennedy campaign headquarters in Washington, D.C. She would drop me off. I mean, you can't do that now.
Right. How times have changed.
Yeah, and I would just sit there, and they would give me little jobs like stuffing envelopes or whatever any other volunteer was doing. And to this day, that has been part of my life's ambitions, is to serve the public. And fortunately, I was able to live out that dream.
So at the age, so would you say at the age of 10, when you were doing that, that's when you got the political bug?
Yeah.
Wow. So then, but of course, then you wanted to fly planes. But it was a misdiagnosis.
It was,
right?
Yeah. It turned out to be a misdiagnosis. But it was all part of the same ethos of service. And I knew eventually I was going to get into public service, but I wanted to serve my country and volunteered to serve my country and had committed to a 7-year commitment had I been selected and made it through all the way through. And I was happy to do that because I just thought that was my obligation. It didn't work out that way, but it allowed me to start my political career much earlier. But it also was a lesson in resilience about not staying down once you get knocked down.
Yes.
Because clearly I had no options once that occurred and just had to kind of find my own way and fight my own way through.
Well, there's a real life lesson there, which you've given so many of them through example. But after that, so you're back to the story in Tampa, so you're in Tampa, and then what happens?
I just started volunteering in campaigns because I knew that was a way to meet people and get plugged into the system, if you will. Volunteered for John Glenn's presidential campaign in 1983. Through that, I met Pat Frank, who was a state senator at the time, who was one of the most revered public figures in Hillsborough County.
Absolutely.
Just retired as clerk of the court. Pat Frank introduced me to Sandy Friedman, who was then the chairman of the Tampa City Council, who was getting ready to run for mayor. I coordinated Sandy's campaign. Sandy won. I came on board with Sandy as the special assistant to the mayor and spent 8 years with her. And
how old were you at that time when you first came on? You were
I was super young. Yeah, I was probably 26 when I went to work at the city.
Oh my gosh, so you must, oh my gosh, so 26 years old, you're a special assistant to the mayor.
I was single, I was probably a pain in the neck. But I thought I was pretty cool. And, I loved every minute of it. And because I had no other commitments, I could do that 24/7 and did do it 24/7. And so, I would work 7 days a week because I had nothing else going on in my life. I had no spouse, I had no kids, so I could do it. And it allowed me to sort of build a citywide network through her network and build relationships that largely originated with her. That became valuable to me down the road.
So at that time, did you know then that you wanted to be the mayor of Tampa? You did?
Yeah, I did. And I'll tell you why. Because having sat sort of beside her for 8 years, I saw how powerful that office can be. And what people don't realize is that the city of Tampa, by virtue of the charter, the mayor's a very, very strong mayor form of government. You can get a lot accomplished. You are the CEO of 4,500 employees, a $1 billion operation. You can move the needle. You can shape a city. You can drive a city. You can direct a city. And to me, for politics, there are some politicians that want to just be. I wanted to do. And I knew that I could do the most from that seat. And so after having that experience, I knew that's exactly where I wanted to be.
Wow. So before, though, you ran for mayor, you also ran for...
Yep. I served on the city council for 2 terms. It was during the Mayor Greco's administration, and so I served 8 years there. That sort of grounded me in the legislative side of city government, but I always aspired to be the mayor and knew that that's where I could affect change to the greatest degree.
And so that's when I met you. I met you around that time.
Yeah, when you first arrived from New Orleans.
Yeah, when I first got, oh, thank you for remembering. Yes, I was just a little cover reporter here, you know. And so 2003, wasn't it 2000?
Yep.
So 2003, you decide to run for mayor.
I did.
And at the very last moment, Mayor Pam Iorio steps in. She was the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections.
And a dear friend of mine.
Yes, and a very good friend. Right. And you guys had known each other for years.
Years. We started out together.
So share the story, though, that your team, when she entered the race, said what?
It's game over, boy. It's game over. We knew from the polling, because she was very popular and very good at the jobs that she had always had. And we knew as soon as she entered the race, which was really late.
It was very late.
It was January before a March election, which was almost unheard of. And the rest of us had been battling for a year. When she jumped in, I knew it was game over. And she ended up cleaning our clock. I think I finished 3rd in that election by 700 votes to Francisco Sanchez, who ended up in the runoff with Pam, and Pam won handily, and then went on to serve 8 years as the mayor, and I went back out into private sector for 8 years. For 8 years.
But Bob, how devastating was that for you at the time?
It was pretty tough. You know, it's like being an athlete to some degree. I mean, you train, you prepare. But sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And sometimes it's just not your day. And sometimes your opponent is better than you are, which in this case, certainly the voters thought Pam was a better choice. And so, yeah, you once again, you get knocked down. But you know something, Serena? I learned, certainly during that election and the aftermath of that election, that people judge you to a much greater degree about how you respond to your defeats, not your victories. And so people watch you in your toughest moments to see how you're going to react, to see whether or not you're going to lose with dignity, even as painful, particularly for a former athlete like me.
Yes.
You know, I hate losing worse than I like winning. But people watch you and to see how you react, but more importantly, to see whether you're going to get up. And if so, how are you going to get up? And, you know, for me, and it's a lesson I pass on to my kids, and ultimately it was a lesson that allowed me to be successful as mayor, was how I got up.
You were an example for everyone. I remember you handled it with such class.
I hope so.
Yes, oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I worked in the newsroom, you know, at the time, and I felt it for you because
well, people knew how badly I wanted that.
Yes, how badly you wanted it, and because also, I mean, you love the city of Tampa. You love the city of Tampa and how badly you wanted it. So on that note, maybe we should go to a commercial break because we should finish how you ended up being elected as mayor, because it's such a, you know, it's great that you got back into the game. So stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back.
You use maps for travel, but did you know there's mapping for your skin? It's called Visia Skin Analysis.
Above average, that's pretty good.
Here's why I used it at South Tampa Dermatology. It scans your skin for sun damage and wrinkles. You can see how your skin compares with others in your age group. Why is this important?
So here's what we'll do.
It can target a treatment program to meet your needs and save your skin over time. Another reason why I rely on the dream team at South Tampa Dermatology.
Precision Garage Store, this is Sophia. How may I help you?
It's the people who work here that make the difference.
That's what we're all here for, teamwork, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's why we're here for you today.
With one purpose:
If you need us, Precision is here for you.
to give their best to our customers.
We put out love and we get like 10 times back.
You get it coming back too.
Yeah.
We work for you. So thank you, Tampa Bay, for year after year making Precision Garage Door a top workplace.
Label Swap is a retail store that you can bring in the items you don't want anymore. We will buy them for either a cash offer or store credit, and you can also shop the items as well. We carry anything from H&M, Lululemon, up to your luxury items like Gucci and Louis Vuitton. There's nothing really around like it here in the market. It is a fun, personalized experience.
Everyone, welcome back to On the Record. I am so honored to be sitting next to Mayor Bob Buckhorn, certainly one of my personal mentors. It's so good to see you, Mayor.
Thank you, Serena.
All right, so prior to the commercial break, we were talking about how in 2003 you ran for mayor and you did not win, but it was more the example you set, and in my words, I'm saying the example you set on how you handled the defeat, but you shared on how people watch you, you know? So, fast forward.
8 long years in the wilderness.
8 long years. And for someone who really, I know how badly you wanted to be mayor. So 8 years pass. During those 8 years, are you thinking, though, I'm going to try again?
You know, in the beginning, probably not. I mean, I thought, like everybody else, that my window had closed and that my number was up and that I would never get a shot to compete again. But I just couldn't shake the belief that I had something to offer, and that given a chance that I could do good things and make people proud. And so I sat in the private sector for 8 years, and I enjoyed it, and it was fine. It was, you know, lucrative, and all those things were good. But I never stopped believing in, one, the capacity of Tampa to be a great place, and two, I spent those 8 years studying mayors and cities around the country to
Did you really?
To see what they did right, what they did wrong. I watched people like Rudy Giuliani during 9/11 and how he performed, which is certainly not what he's become, but how he performed then. I looked at people like Ray Nagin in New Orleans and what a disaster that turned out to be, and how that lack of leadership impacted so many people's lives. And so as I got closer to what I knew was going to be an open seat when Mayor Iorio was finished, I decided that I was going to take a shot. And I had spent 8 years preparing for that moment. Again, it's like being an athlete.
It's giving me goosebumps all over, honestly. It's giving me, because you exceeded expectations. I mean, we all knew you'd be a great mayor because you love the city, but you exceeded expectations. What I love about my show, right? Unedited, unscripted. I can endorse anybody who wants because it's my
I'm not running for anything, so you don't have to.
I know. Well, I want to talk to you about that, though, but I'll say that for the end of the show. But, so I'm also the very proud host of Unlocking Tampa Bay with Santiago Carrata, who was your chief of staff. Yeah, was your chief of staff. Mayor, you put Tampa on the map. And you did. Like, prior to that, Tampa was great. And you know I love Mayor Pam Iorio. She married me, in fact, right? Or she didn't marry me, but, you know, married me. And I'm a huge fan of Mayor Jane Castor.
Me too.
But you put Tampa with the big boys.
You know, sir, thank you.
You did.
But remember, I also built on the work of Mayor Iorio and Mayor Greco and Mayor Friedman and Mayor Martinez, just like Mayor Castor is building on the work that I left him. But what I've discovered in life is many times you don't get what you want when you want it. But if you're in it for the right reasons and you persevere, sometimes good things happen. And it turned out to be a case of Mayor Iorio, in spite of the fact that she beat me and how bad that hurt, she was the right mayor at that particular time for the city of Tampa. With her skill set, she was the right mayor. I was lucky to come at a time where my skill set allowed me to be the right mayor at that time, and to take the foundation that she left me and just catapult it to the next level. But bear in mind, we were in the midst of the worst recession since the Great Depression.
So how did you do it? Because during that time, too, you brought us Bollywood, which Bollywood, I mean, I remember I was sitting in the newsroom thinking, there's no way Bollywood's coming here. The RNC, after Minneapolis, which was a complete disaster, and I'm sorry to say that it was. I mean, it was so scary. RNC,
College
amazing.
football,
College
national
football,
championship.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
I basically had to start from scratch because, remember, I mean, that recession had devastated this community. I mean, there were 4,000 some foreclosures going on. There were jobs that were disappearing, companies that were closing up. We had been knocked flat, much like I had been knocked flat. And so the question for us in the beginning, in 2011 when I took office, was how are we going to get off the mat? Are we going to get off the mat? Are we strong enough to believe in each other and to join hands with each other and realize that, yeah, it's dark at night, but there is always light at dawn? And if we keep pushing for this, and if we can inspire this community to believe in something bigger than just itself, and that, yeah, it's going to get better, and yeah, it's going to be a hard slog, and yeah, we don't have the money that we used to have, but we're going to get there. You start that journey, and you do it one step at a time. And so we laid out a vision for what I thought this community could be. I was relentless about delivering that message everywhere I went, trying to inspire people to believe that better days were yet to come. They saw the progress of what was happening in spite of the fact that we had no money. You know, they saw the Riverwalk start to emerge. They saw downtown start to grow. They saw Tampa start to get recognized for some of the things that you talked about. And they saw a community that began to believe in itself and began to shake off that defeat and get up and just get off the mat. And so over that 8 years, I think they started to believe in themselves once again, which was, I mean, people ask me all the time, what do you think your legacy will be? It's not the many buildings and the physical built environment. I think what my legacy will be is the fact that Tampanians believe in themselves now. They believe that anything is possible, that they can compete on any stage and win. And to see that transformation from where they were in 2009, 10, and 11, to me really makes me feel good about that time. That Tampa swagger is real.
Is real, and you delivered the message for sure. It's like people felt, and we talked about this at a coffee prior, that you had our backs. You know?
Well, certainly I tried.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I'm putting you in, I'm asking the question. You know that I have to ask. You're a huge supporter of Mayor Jane Castor.
Yeah.
100%. But people love you. Would you ever consider running for mayor again?
You know, as you can imagine, I get asked that question a lot. The answer is probably not. I'm not planning on it. I'm not doing anything to prepare for it. You know, it's hard to go back and do the same job again with the same passion.
Okay, so what about governor?
I get asked that a lot too. Thank you, Serena, for putting me on the spot.
You are absolutely welcome.
You know, and you know this. I came close 3 years ago to doing it. I didn't because at the time of my daughter's life, I didn't want to miss, you know, her looking at colleges and doing all those things that, you know, she'll never get a chance to do and I'll never get a chance to do with her. And so I made the decision then I'd rather be a good dad than a good candidate.
How commendable, too.
You know,
but by the time...
Some days I think, maybe I should have, but I don't regret that decision at all.
Right, but by the time that you may the office opens, both of your girls, one will be out of college, right? One will be in college.
So the timing would be better. But you know something? I mean, I loved every day of being the mayor, and I think it showed.
100%.
you know, I got the only job that I ever really aspired for. I'm not one of these folks that's driven to have to be in office. I mean, I had the job that I loved. Term limits, you know, are term limits, and you know, you only get a window to do it. But they've sucked all the joy out of serving. Once you get beyond that level, then it becomes so partisan, so driven by money and how much money you have to raise to run. I mean, this governor's race coming up is going to be a $100 million race. The partisan nature and the partisan environment that we find ourselves in doesn't allow you to get stuff done, because you know, people retreat to their corners, and it's not about finding solutions to real problems that we face as a country and as a state. It's all about scoring political points. That's not who I am.
I know, but you know who you are is someone who truly loves the city and truly loves the state. So I'm just saying on the record that 6 years from now, Jane leaves office. I know you've already done the job before, but you don't think that there's a proper leader. I could see you totally getting back in, or again, running for governor.
You know something? I will say this.
Okay.
While I'm not planning on doing it, and I'm not preparing to do it, I'm also not going to let anybody undo the progress that we've made over the last decade. That's too important to this community, you know, too important to me. We've made too much progress to have it undone by bad actors and bad characters. And so I'm just not, for my kids and your kid and generations that come behind us, this community is on the precipice of some really, really great things, and we need that positive leadership to continue what we started. And we can't let anybody undo us or somebody divide us based on race or creed or color or ethnicity. Well, I'm just not going to stand for it. And I don't think anybody else is either. And so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Just do me a favor. When you break the news, or if you do it on the record right here, and I have to share this, this picture that you sent to me after I left traditional news, and you said, Serena, stay strong. Your next chapter has yet to be written. And this, don't you think, Bob, is just amazing here at CP and Red House Communications, my own newsroom.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God.
I told you you were going to go do great things. Because remember, it's all about getting up, right?
It's all about getting up. And you have to promise me that you will come back on the show.
I'll come back. I'm just not going to do that. Ask me about my love life.
Oh, no. Listen. You know I'm relentless. I am not giving up on that either.
Me and the good Dr. Lynch are not doing that show.
I don't know, guys. I'm pretty persuasive. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I would encourage you to share this show. You can share it on multiple platforms. Also, if you have a story idea, send it to us. And you can also watch the show on Roku. Mayor Bob Buckhorn, what an honor. What an honor to have you on the record. Can I give you a hug? Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.